thank you so much for coming, everyone, tonight. My name is Patrick Daniel. I work in a local incubator in Palo Alto that builds decentralized protocols. I'm happy to talk more about that later offline if some people are interested, some engineers perhaps. But really, I want to talk to all of you tonight to really get you inspired to come, enter the crypto world, because it's not very intuitive. It's very difficult to understand. And so I think, John was presenting earlier about the basic technologies, so we have an understanding of what's happening. But I mean, as for me, my friend Tom got me into this space last year, and it's not very intuitive, and it's not very easy, and there's so much math, and there's so much cryptography, and there's so many different things coming together, and that's really what's making it revolutionary. So really what I want to talk about right now for maybe 15 minutes is why you should care about this and why this is the future in a huge way. So as you can see here, I use the map, which I really like to use. It shows the whole world, and the title that I thought would be appropriate is The Future's Decentralized, or Distributed. Because really that's what it's all about. It's about decentralization, which is a trend that's been going on for the last couple of decades. If you think about look back, I don't know, I have a slide here, I think. But if you think about the history of the world, let me do this first. So, this is this very interesting quote by John Locke, the political philosopher who inspired the American Revolution. And so here's a concept called tabula rasa. And I really invite you here to really forget everything you know, maybe John's speech you can keep in mind, and really try to be open as possible to try and learn about this, because this is the introductory speech, and we didn't really know how much people know, so we really make sure that people have a good grasp. And then later we can also have questions and other things. So as John Locke said, let us then suppose the mind to be, as we say, white paper, void of all characters, without any ideas. How comes it to be furnished? Whence comes it by the vast store which the busy and boundless fancy of men has painted on it with almost endless variety? Whence has all the materials of reason and knowledge? To this I answer in one word, from experience. So all of you here are very smart. We at Stanford, I don't know really, I think most of you are students or people in the area who are interested. So you're probably very smart, and you know a lot of different things. And so I really want to just get you more excited about this space, because really that's what you came here for. There's so much going on. Locally, it's difficult to find people to connect about this topic, but on the internet there's so much happening. There's so much more content. So really just try to relax and enjoy this a little bit, and hopefully I'll succeed in inspiring you in some way, so you can continue your going down the rabbit hole as I have done from last year. All right, cool. So I like this photo by Monet. So instead of because the screen is so small, so I thought instead of talking about all these detailed things, I'm just going to use illustrated things like wallpapers, because really we want to have an impressionistic view of what's going on. So as you can see, as I've started to talk earlier, it's really about the movement from centralized systems in the world to decentralized systems in the world. I should maybe say I was a fellow at Harvard where I researched turning points in society and markets historically, and also how the internet has evolved, and I was trying to figure out how the internet is evolving, and this is really it. It's cryptocurrencies, because if you think about, I have this photo here of this George III, who was ruling when America was founded, and that was a king, and we forget this was not that long ago, and we still look at companies today. If you think about the internet today, Facebook, Google, this is the biggest duopoly that we have on the internet. These are central players. While they have provided a lot of services, and I use most of them, it's really not the future. The future is decentralized, where we can empower people and where we can have more value. And this is why it's such a big thing, because it really unlocks value in new ways. Imagine giving all these developers on Ethereum, there's over 40,000 developers, and they have now a toolbox to really create value in new ways, because they can assemble them in different ways. And that's huge, right? And so think about this guy. He was around not so long ago. And now this is one of the symbols of the internet today. It's the cat, and the unicorn. And so the internet really is something that inspires me personally, and it's been going on, for a long time. And I think someone who grows up today, they are born into the internet. So it's something we take for granted. But I think what makes it really so exciting is that it's the evolution of the internet. It's as my friend Tom says, realizing the true vision of the internet, which is decentralized. And that will create millions and millions of opportunities for people all over the world, the developing world. It will solve so many problems. And obviously there's a lot of problems attached to blockchain technology. There's a lot of scamming going on, all these problems. But yeah, it's a fascinating thing. So, I'm not going to talk about this. I ran the slides because I didn't really know, who the audience was. But, since John talked about this, I'm not going to talk much about Bitcoin. But think about Bitcoin. When Bitcoin, when the white paper was released by Satoshi Nakamoto, nobody knows who it is. It was 2008. Think about how the world looked like in 2008. It was a financial crisis. Really, the economic paradigm was really broken. The whole, banks and different entities in society really ruined the economy to some extent because we had built up a system, that allowed this irrational exuberance. And so really, since 2008, Bitcoin has really successfully shown the first use case of blockchain technology. And so I think if you think about it, that was 2008, today it's 2017, a very long time ago. What has happened and why didn't it catch on earlier? But it's really because there was only one use case. And so now with Ethereum, which is sort of the evolution of Bitcoin in a way, you have so many more use cases opening up. Yeah. This is a really cool art I like, and so I can show you. It's by this crypto graffiti guy who I met once. Personally, I would make it in a way where because it's all about having trust disrupt it. And so showing like George Washington in a hoodie with one eye is maybe, I don't know if that's like the best thing to do, but it's a really cool piece of art. So think about the joint venture as a model of funding companies. In the 16th century, this is the East India Company headquarters. Looks kind of cool. And think about the impact it had on global trade, right? Today, when I finished graduate school, I moved here, Peter Thiel at the summit, where we brought all these entrepreneurs together, and it's sometimes so easy to lose perspective for what's going on. Now all these people are working on startups, and sometimes it's very difficult to connect all the dots and to see really what's happening. And so I think if you look at the historical movement, of decentralization, and you look at the impact of the East India Company and the joint venture model, that's really what's happening today. Venture capital is the old model. And we're having new models now, alternative models of financing ventures, which is huge. And so keep that in mind as well as you explore more about blockchain. So really the future is protocols and not companies. Polychain Capital is a huge hedge fund which is making that hypothesis essentially. Olaf, one of the co-founders, where he says networks gain sovereignty by issuing currency, venture capital is evolving, you have application-specific tokens to run the networks. So think about if you would use Facebook, but you would get incentivized to use Facebook. Imagine you post something on social media and you get paid to post something on social media, right? Right now, all these companies are harvesting everyone's data, and it's like the status quo. Everyone is cool with it. Everyone gains a lot of utility, but it's not really necessary, right? Another example in the industry that a lot of people are using is decentralized Uber, also called Duber. Imagine Uber as a decentralized service. Right now, Travis takes like 30% cut on every transaction, and so the question is, do we really need someone like that taking that much money? So obviously, he has created a lot of value, but I think with blockchain technology, finally, we can build decentralized services of existing web services that haven't been updated in a long time. We're working with Definity, which is an infinite decentralized cloud. It's a sister to Ethereum, and really what we're trying to do there is challenge Amazon Web Services. And so there's so many things happening. So just keep all of these things in mind. That the future is really about protocols, not companies, which is not very intuitive. So think about this, right? You're all very tech savvy, so everyone knows what TCP/IP is and HTTP and SMTP. Those are protocols, right? So imagine if you could invest into protocols today, right? You can invest into the future of the new infrastructure of the internet, and that's really what's been happening. And that's why Ethereum went up 20x since January, which is a lot, and all these other coins went up. So that's what makes everyone so excited, right? Because you are like, some of you probably are outside of this industry as I was, and so it's difficult to like understand what's happening because it's moving so fast. And so really, what you want to get away from this today is just have enough context so you can really then move on, do your thing, and apply this knowledge in whatever way you can do for whatever you're working on. All right, we talked about that. I mean, look at this. The question is really, the problem is Bitcoin is like a little bit like the old camel. We have Bitcoin maximalists, which is basically vested interest of people who've invested very early and who like just support Bitcoin, because it's to the exclusion of everything else. And so I think what I also want to talk about today a little bit is it's very important, as we're building this framework and this foundation and this new industry, to think about the ecosystem as a whole and not try to figure out what is in the best interest of one entity, but in the best interest of everybody. And so I think we want to have a future where there's more different cryptocurrencies, there's different coins, and I think that's why Ethereum is so successful, because finally new use cases of blockchain technology have been unlocked. And as you can see here with the chart, GitHub repositories, are still like, obviously Bitcoin has more, but Ethereum is catching up very, very quickly. All right. So I thought I could also talk a little bit about the crypto markets in general. The lady had a question earlier about, how do the markets look like? So, I look at the markets every day. But maybe some people don't. So I thought I could just provide an overview of really like where we are today, in the cryptocurrency markets. So someone earlier asked about the total market cap, which is data from CoinMarketCap, and it reached $80 billion. And as you can see, the curve, it's just been going up like an elevator, essentially, relentless. The markets have not gone down. Today, Ethereum dropped $40 in a few minutes and then it recovered. So there's a lot of stuff going on in crypto every day. So $80 billion, think about that number, right? That's very little compared, that's like a little bit more than Uber. I don't know how much it valued, probably like 70 billion or something. And it used to be like less than Airbnb a couple of months ago. And think about the potential here. It's really a $1 trillion market, right? So you can invest into a $1 trillion market today, which is just fascinating. Although, I have to say, like, obviously, this is a very risky market. There's a lot of these exchanges getting hacked, and you have to be very careful, before you invest or trade anything. But I'm just like, painting sort of the big picture here. So look at this. This is a Crypto Watch, which is it's a cool website that I like to use, which just shows all these different coins. As you can see there, Bitcoin, Ethereum, LTC is a light version. It's sort of a sister network of Bitcoin, Ethereum, Monero. Someone asked about the privacy question. Monero is basically adding more privacy capabilities. ETC down there happened after the hard fork. Futures similar to the stock market, and then a bunch of other ones. So look at this. Bitcoin, this is not very long ago, and now it's above $2,000 actually. That's quite amazing. If you look at Ethereum, it's even crazier. If you had put in like $10,000 into Ethereum at $10, you would now have, I don't know what the price right now is, because when I took the screenshot, it was before the mini crash. But you would have made like over $100,000. So yeah, you can see that there's a lot of stuff happening. And so what's also happening is this battle for dominance, right? Which currency is really the best one? Bitcoin has really lost dominance since all the other altcoins have risen. And so I think what's going to happen in the future is also this whole notion of alternative coins and Bitcoin, in all these different chats, people always talk about, like Bitcoin is king, when there's uncertainty, people revert back to Bitcoin, which is true, but I think generally the whole field is now going to be opened up. Ethereum is just one of the first big players who can challenge Bitcoin. So this is briefly I talked about the Bitcoin maximalist. I thought it was a cool photo. So lastly, and before we open this up for questions, I just wanted to talk about the political revolution. Usually, financial revolutions happen before political revolutions. Something that I'm very excited about. I studied the American Revolution a lot because I think it shaped the future of the world in a big way. And so this photo is the Treaty of Westphalia, which essentially ushered in the system of nation states that we have in place today, right? And so I think, while I don't want to talk about politics, because as my friend Tony says, we have to make politics impossible again to basically create more innovation in politics, right? But essentially today we have a world, where land is fixed, borders are fixed. There's a few outliers, like Liberland. I don't know if you've heard about that, which is like this guy in Eastern Europe found his land and he claimed it, and now it's like the libertarian experiment. China is very successful. They have special economic zones. It would be great if we can have that in America. I think we do need to have more, political experiments of how we can govern ourselves, because the current system is kind of outdated. It's still very centralized. And so I think we can do this before Elon Musk takes us to Mars. And so this photo just represents this historical moment. I just want to leave you with that thought of the turning point that we're really going through today. It's still very early. There's still a lot of opportunities, and there was a question about if you can connect this to other industries. So there's a lot of unanswered questions, and we really welcome you to come into the space and with an open and curious mind. And feel free to talk to me afterwards. Thank you very much. Yeah.